Hi, this is Martin for Revelation Software, and welcome to the last in my series of videos looking at getting started with O4W. In this lesson we're going to be looking at creating a dashboard, and it's probably worthwhile just talking a little bit about dashboards before we go any further. Dashboards are basically a way of visually showing your data in the form of charts, traffic lights, gauges, a whole load of different widgets, people tend to call them, but it's a way of visually showing your data. And reasons why people might use those, there are a large number of reasons, but just some examples would be a sales manager may well come in and have a pie chart or a bar chart of information pertaining to his sales team or teams. And what he can do is come in, run up his machine, make a cup of coffee, and instead of having to run reports and visually go through the data and the actual figures, he will be able to see on his screen a graphical report, a dashboard, which will show those areas that are doing well, those areas of his team that are doing reasonably well, and those that are doing badly. And then what he can do is he can quickly identify the teams that he needs to talk to enable them to pull their figures up, or those that are doing very well, and he can contact them to say, hey, what are you doing that's so good? Your figures are going through the roof. Is there anything that we can use to share with the rest of the teams around the country? Project managers might also use dashboards to monitor different metrics within their projects, so which areas of the project are falling behind. That will then give them a hit list for the day, so they can call those individuals that are responsible for that part of the project that's falling behind. And then a couple of real world examples that I've come across in recent months. One particular client was looking at the spend for their clients, and what he found one day is that using a line chart, one of his leading clients, one of his top 20, suddenly stopped spending money. So the alarm bell went off, made a telephone call, found out that there had been a problem. I don't know exactly what the problem was, but it may well have been a competitor had come in with a cheaper price or something, and that client had just moved away. But he was able to address the issue, show that they were professional and that they could pick up that particular issue had happened, and over a phone call or two was able to renegotiate and bring that client back on board. So in that particular scenario, that would have paid for any development of dashboards and licenses, etc. Another of our clients works in the healthcare sector, and they want to monitor the amount of patients in a surgery waiting room and how long they've been waiting for targets, government targets for how long the people have been waiting. So lots and lots of different reasons. There's 101,001 different reasons for dashboards within your individual applications, and this whole lesson is all about how we go about creating them. Now, I'm not going to be using the clinic application in this instance because my data set is very small and doesn't really lend itself very well to dashboards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the examples application that ships with OpenInsight. Now I've got O4W running here with all of the services, and I'm simply going to change the URL here. So we're no longer looking at clinic, we're now looking at examples. Now this is going to work for me because I've got the examples database set up in the registry under OECGI3 as well as the clinic application, so I can flick between the two. You'll need to do the same if you haven't already done that, and connecting to the examples application, setting up the registry and everything is covered in the O4W Quick Start Guide that ships with OpenInsight. And we'll need to go ahead and log in the same way as we've been doing before with O4W. And then we need to look at the O4W dashboard section down here where we can create and modify, copy and delete, or run. We need to create and modify. And the first thing that we are asked for is whether we want to select an existing O4W dashboard, and yours should be empty. I've got one in here, but yours should be empty. Or whether we want to enter the name for a new one. So I'm just going to call this one Sales. And then we'll click Next. Okay, I did that in lowercase, so it's changed it to uppercase. I'm happy enough with that. And then we need to have a description for this dashboard. So I'm just going to call it sales, keep it nice and easy, and we'll copy that into title, and I think we'll also copy that into header as well. The template that I'm going to use is the default. I'm happy. The background image will leave. The footer, if I want to, I could have my copyright again that we've been using before, and again I can add the, well, I can't add in my normal menu because we're now in a different application, but I've got some other menus that have been created previously, so I'll just use that main menu. The link text, this is working exactly the same way as we've been doing previously with the forms. So I've got my link text, and that's going to link out to the RevSoft, and also my link colors. So let's just change those to the same colors that we've had previously. And then if we go next, we are taken to the configuration screen. Now, how many graphs do we want to show in this dashboard? Well, I want to have 2 in this instance. And how many columns to display the graphs in? We can have between 1 and 4, as it's saying. I want to have them in 2, which is going to put them side by side. And the number of rows to display the graphs in, we're going to leave that as 1. And the number of seconds to wait before refreshing the graph data, because remember, the data behind the scenes would normally be moving, so how often do you want to refresh the data that the graph is based on, and therefore the graph? So we'll go 60 seconds. When we're done, we'll click next, and here we're asked to define the panels. So I could leave it as graph 1 and graph 2, but let's just change this to sales by product, and we'll change this from 800 to 400, and we'll change the height, let's reduce that down to 300. The number of different charts, I'm just going to have 1. I'm going to keep this relatively straightforward, but you can have, you know, different sets of data, so you could have 2 lines on a line chart, etc. And for the second one, we'll have this as customer ranking. And again, the desired width, we'll change that to 400, and the height we'll set as 300. 1 set of data, and we're happy with OpenInsight table as our graph source. So we'll click next when we're ready. And we're then taken to the charts tab, where we'll define how each graph is to present the data. So the sales by product chart is going to be a pie chart, and the customer ranking chart will be a bar graph. So let's do the sales by product chart first. So we need to select our table, which is going to be products. There. We then need to put a select statement in, and in this instance we want to select products by, and we'll have this descending, and sales year to date. Obviously you need to know your database to do these. The x-axis, we could treat labels as strings or set other items in here. I'm happy to leave those as they are, and the same with y. And the overall panel options, do we want to show a legend on the chart? That would make sense. Allow to zoom, yes, that also makes sense. Show the border on the chart, I'm going to leave that one blank for now. And any pie slices, anything greater than 0.1% will merge together. So that means we don't have lots of tiny little bits that we really, make no sense to us really. We'll change the chart series name to something a little bit more user friendly, so change that to products. Oops. And the chart type, there are a number of charts that we can use. Let's just move this down a bit. We can have a line, a scatter, bar, par, stacked and horizontal. We're going to go with a pie chart in this particular instance. And then we need to set the same for the second. So in this instance, we're going to be looking at the customers table. And the statement's slightly longer. So we're going to select customers with sales year to date, which are greater than 0, by descending sales year to date. This time we will treat the labels as strings for our x-axis, but for the y-axis the number of decimal values, we'll set that to 2, and we can also put a monetary symbol in there. Now I'm going to go with US dollars purely because I'm working with the US database, but if you're in the UK it would be pounds, whatever. So I'm just going to leave that. We'll show the legend and we'll allow zooming. I don't need to worry about combining pie slices because this is going to be a bar chart. So let's change that now. And we'll also change the name. So this is sales year to date. Once we're happy, we'll click next. And then we're taken to the data tab, on which we'll define the dictionaries to utilize for the X and Y coordinates for each graph. So for the first graph for the series 1, we're going to be using ID. And we are going to need to use sales year to date. And for number 2, again, we'll be using the ID. And we'll also be using the sales year to date, so that one there. So then we click next, and then we're into our completion screen. Very familiar to us, so we'll save, and then if we run that dashboard, and then you can see that we are presented with our charts. So we've got our pie chart next to our bar chart, and we can see the legends and all of the information. We've also got our customer ranking, and if I was to just move the mouse over, you can see there that I'm getting the actual physical information for that particular part of the bar chart, and I can also click and drag to zoom into certain areas and move around. Right, now let's take it a really cool feature. You will remember that when we were defining our charts, if I just go back into the designer, that we had a number of graph types that were available to us as a default in O4W. Now from 9.2.1 these have been extended quite considerably. So if we go into the database management area, O4W maintenance and the configuration records, and we then choose the scripts tab and we navigate to the bottom of the window, you will see here the source for the graphing library, and at the moment we're using the JQplot jQuery plugin. That's the default one. However, there are two additional. There are Google virtualization charts and both the jQuery and the Google charts. Now obviously for Google you do require an internet connection, and if you have that connection then you can turn on either of these two. I do, so I'm going to turn on both jQuery and Google visualization, and we'll save those changes. Okay, and then if we go back into our dashboard, create and modify, and we'll pick up the dashboard that we've been working with, the sales one, click next. If we then go straight to the charts tab and we scroll down, for our pie chart we now have a large number of charts that are available to us. We've got our JQplot charts that we had previously, but we've also got these additional Google charts, quite a significant number in here. So you've got spark lines, you've got gauges, 3D pie charts. So at the moment this is just a standard pie chart. We'll change that to a 3D pie, and for the other chart we had a standard bar chart. So let's take the Google bar chart, and we'll next to that, yep, we're still okay with the information there. Save, and we'll test run, and this time you'll see that the charts look quite a bit different. So we've now got the Google chart here, the 3D pie chart, with the ability to move our mouse over and get the information, and also our bar chart here, again where we've got mouse interaction as well within the chart. So from 9.2.1 we support Google Charts. It gives you a lot more option and some nicer charts. So I would suggest obviously looking at using those, so long as your users are always going to have access to the internet. If they don't, then you'll need to go with the standard charts. Right, that's it for dashboards. I hope that you found this video useful. Obviously there are 101 different reasons for using dashboards, and you will have your own reasons, and once you're actually working with your own data set, then you'll be able to visually display some useful and interesting data for your users, but I think that you can very quickly and easily see the areas of sales that are doing well, those that are not doing so well, customer rankings. This is a nice visual way of seeing your data very quickly and easily, rather than having to print reports and wade through lots of numbers and figures. If you want some more help on the dashboards, then bring up those questions during the official O4W training, and the developers will be more than happy to walk you through those. So I hope that this lesson has been useful along with the others, and I look forward to seeing you with another Revelation tutorial sometime very soon. Thank you very much for your time. Bye bye.